Hello and welcome. So I'm just making a short video reacting to a news item I have been noticing in a section of the Nigerian media. And I thought the headlines and the news stories are a bit misleading. If I'm going to take TV360 Nigeria, for example, the headline reads, US announces 2025 visa waiver program lists. UK removed, Romania added, no African countries included. Now, I find this news headline very misleading, and this is another one from The Nation. The Nation is a major newspaper publication in Nigeria, and their own headline reads, full list, UK, Nigeria missing as US releases eligible countries for visa waiver program. Now, the crux of my conversation today is about where they both implied that the UK has been removed, and this is misleading. So the UK has not been removed from the US visa waiver program. There's a bit of an explanation around this. So what the US State Department is saying is that only British citizens who have the right of abode in the United Kingdom and nearby islands are eligible for the US visa waiver program. So if we look at the US Department of State website, Bureau of Consular Affairs, the page that outlines the countries that are eligible for the visa waiver program lists a number of countries, and the list ends with Taiwan and the United Kingdom. So the highlight there is that to be eligible to travel under the visa waiver program, British citizens must have the unrestricted rights of permanent abode in England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, the Channel Islands, and the Isle of Man. So if we look at the British nationality law, there are different classes or different types of British nationality. So if I quickly look at a page on Wikipedia, it highlights 6 types of British nationality. So the first one is British citizen, followed by British overseas territories citizen, British overseas citizen, British national overseas, British subject, and lastly, British protected person. So these 5 under the main one apply to different types of people. Some of them, for example, apply to people who are nationals of British islands and territories that are usually far from Britain itself. And some of them include British Virgin Island, Gibraltar. So what the US State Department is saying is that they only offer the visa-free access to British nationals who have the right to live in the mainland UK and nearby islands. This has always been the case anyway. People who have British nationality from other territories that still belong to Britain do not have visa-free access to the US. The other side to these headlines imply that Nigeria is missing from the US visa waiver program, or South Africa is missing, and so on. Nigeria and South Africa have never had visa-free access to the US. So when they say that no African country has visa-free access to the US, that is hardly news. The US visa waiver program is a very elite program that is limited to a few number of countries. The big news, or relatively big news this time, is that Romania now has visa-free access to the United States. Now, that is hardly surprising anyway, considering that the EU has always pushed that all their member states should have visa-free access to the US on a reciprocal basis. So, as of now, the only EU countries who still do not have visa-free access to the US are Bulgaria and Cyprus. They're still working on it in the sense that soon enough, citizens of Bulgaria and Cyprus should hopefully have visa-free access to the United States. It has always been that the US would always have terms and conditions. For example, other terms and conditions that affect other countries apart from the UK is, for example, Israel. Israel only gained visa-free access to the US recently, or relatively recently. Now, in the case of Israel, the US is offering visa-free access to only Israeli passport holders whose passports are biometric and have full validity. And this kind of passport can only be issued within Israel itself. So it means that an Israeli who got their passport outside Israel cannot travel to the US on the visa waiver program. Another condition that I noticed is that in the case of Germany, for example, only people who have biometric German passports are eligible for the visa waiver program. Another exception is Hungary, in the sense that only Hungarian citizens who are born in Hungary itself are eligible for the visa waiver program. Even though Hungary is an EU country and it has visa-free access to the US, but the US is limiting the eligibility for the visa waiver program to Hungarian citizens born within the territory of Hungary only. So if the US now says that for the UK, only British citizens who have right of abode in the UK and nearby islands, it's not too strange. So that's about that. So it's a little mischievous to make a headline that screams that Nigeria, South Africa are not in the US visa waiver program. Hello? They have never been, and it doesn't seem like they are ever going to be, at least not anytime soon. So much for journalism. Enjoy the next video. Cheers.